The PlayStation 5 got some bad news recently with some game delays and, well, surprise, surprise, Jim Ryan is a liar once again. And Nintendo is teasing a return for a franchise to the Nintendo Switch, but I'm not even too sure I want to see this franchise come back. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and be sure to like and share the video. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. So if you were a PlayStation die-hard fan or a Sony pony, yesterday was definitely a very tough day for you. There was lots of announcements about PlayStation 5 game delays, lots of questions about these games that are being delayed, and then of course Jim Ryan once again is exposed as a massive liar. And it's something that I've talked about time and time before again on this channel, that Jim Ryan just kind of comes off as a bit scuzzy to me, and I just feel like everything he says absolutely holds no merit anymore because Sony seems to go back on everything that Jim Ryan tends to say when he's talking about the PlayStation 5. But let's talk about the games first. So the first game in question that should come as a surprise to absolutely no one, but God of War Ragnarok is indeed delayed. It will not be coming out in 2021. I know, absolutely shocking that the game that we only literally saw a splash screen for that said coming in 2021 is not coming in 2021. This game has been delayed until 2022. And I understand it. Obviously, real world situations such as COVID have definitely delayed game developments, but let's be realistic here, people. There was no way in hell that this game was ever coming out in 2021. We never saw anything from it, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to believe that yes, Sony, who loves to announce their games beforehand, who loves to showcase their games way before they even come out, was going to release this game in 2021. There was no chance in hell of it happening. This was obviously just something to drum up interest during the initial PlayStation 5 reveal. But what gets very interesting about the God of War Ragnarok situation is that, well, this game isn't just the PlayStation 5 game. It's also coming out on the PlayStation 4. Even though Sony believes in console generations, even though Jim Ryan himself has said that he has no interest in putting PlayStation 5 games on the PlayStation 4, no, this game is indeed coming to the PlayStation 4 in 2022. So, this whole situation, obviously there's lots of red flags with it, and I've seen so many people, so many verified check marks on Twitter say, well, just take your time with God of War, it makes for a better game if it's delayed. Like, look, the game was never gonna come out in 2021 in the first place. Like, doing this little virtue signaling pat on the back to show that you stand with game developers, like, I understand in some situations it does make sense. Games that we have seen a lot of and games that unfortunately just have to get delayed, but this game was never going to come out in 2021. So why are we virtue signaling and giving these people a pat on the back? And why are we also virtue signaling that it's a good thing that it's coming out on the PlayStation 4, even though Jim Ryan has put it into our heads that this was going to be a game and other games were not going to be cross-generational games? Like, that's where the whole problem with this lies to me. I don't care that God of War Ragnarok is coming out on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. I will simply buy it on the PlayStation 5. But when you sit there and, lie to me and say that all these games that we're going to see are only available through the power of the PlayStation 4 and you believe in console generations, and then you go back on it with some of your biggest games, that gets absolutely ridiculous. Another game that's going to come out on the PlayStation 4, Gran Turismo 7. That game that was showcased as being a PlayStation 5 exclusive is not a PlayStation 5 exclusive because it's also coming out on the PlayStation 4. So once again, this is another game that's coming out in 2022 that we were told was going to be available only on the PlayStation 5, yet it's not. It's also coming out on the PlayStation 4. And yes, the PlayStation 5 game version of the game will look and run better, but still, it's all about optics with this situation. It's all about how things are being perceived. And now we got information that Horizon Forbidden West might not be a 2021 game after all. That's the reason that they haven't given a release date for this game, because in fact, it might not hit the 2021 lineup of games for Sony and the PlayStation 5. So then it's like, well, what is there left after Ratchet and Clank are ripped apart? So this whole situation has just been muddled by Sony. And the problem is, it all comes back to Jim Ryan. It all comes back to his lies, because so many people were upset, myself somewhat included, when Phil Spencer said that there was not going to be any exclusive games for the Xbox Series X for the first year or two, that there would be cross-generational games that would still run on the Xbox One. But at least Phil Spencer came out and told us the truth. At least he did not lie to us about this situation, where Jim Ryan has been lying the entire time about this. this. It's to the point now where I'm going to buy some Sony stock because I feel like as a stockholder, as a shareholder, now I can get him out of office because this man just sits there and lies to you all the time about what Sony is doing. How can you take anything that he says at, face value anymore when he's gone back on so many different things with this situation, and no one in the video game industry that can talk to this man, that can interview this man, will call him out or question him on these things. I would love to know the justification for this, but I already know the justification for this. You have this huge PlayStation 4 install base. You have shareholders who want this game that's coming out to be available on as many platforms as possible so that game sales are high on these games like Gran Turismo 4, Horizon Forbidden West, and God of War Ragnarok, so that these games sell very well, so that they sell lots of copies and aren't crippled by the fact that it's hard to get a PlayStation 5. But just say it at this point. When you sit there and say that these things are only available through the power of the PlayStation 5 and you believe in console generations and you have no interest in putting PlayStation 5 games on PlayStation 4, but then you do every single thing that you just said that you weren't going to do, it really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So yeah, I'm kind of upset about this. I don't care, like I said, that these games are cross-generational games. That's fine. But when you lie about the situation just for pure optics, and it's almost like virtue signaling, like, yeah, we're the real console that's doing all these exclusives, and then you still go back and utilize your older hardware, that's just a very bad look in my opinion. So what is Sony's PlayStation 5's lineup going to be for the holiday season? You almost have to imagine that there's some sort of surprise game that could be potentially coming out this holiday season that maybe we know nothing about, because if games like God of War, games like Gran Turismo 7, and potentially Horizon Forbidden West are not coming out in 2021, what is? So it's going to be a very interesting situation for Sony. Obviously, Sony will be doing some sort of presentation around E3 time. They're not actually going to be a part of the E3 presentation, but just Jim Ryan, man, like, this dude sucks. This dude absolutely sucks, and I don't like him. And finally, as the world patiently waits for Nintendo to talk about a Nintendo Switch revision, as been heavily rumored, there are still other things to talk about with Nintendo, such as, well, video games. And of course, Nintendo is one of the biggest companies in the world. They have such a huge back catalog of IPs that, well, they just don't utilize. Games like Punch-Out, games like Kid Icarus, games like, well, hell, even Metroid. Popular Nintendo games and popular Nintendo franchises often go dormant for a very long time in lieu of games that tend to sell very well. But an interesting survey went out to someone yesterday that was oddly specific, and it seems like a somewhat popular Nintendo franchise might be returning to the Nintendo Switch, but I can honestly say I'm not super interested in it. So basically, a Twitter user by the name of Beta64 Official's wife got a very interesting survey sent from Nintendo. Now, Nintendo does often send surveys about upcoming games or how you feel about a game, but this thing was very oddly specific when it comes to what the game in question is and even the price of the game. So the survey says the following: at a price of $49.99, how interested are you in buying the next game in the WarioWare series? WarioWare is a game series starring Wario that features a collection of fast-paced micro games, each lasting about 3 to 5 seconds. And then of course there are different options that you could choose from within this official Nintendo survey. So not only do we have the notion that a new WarioWare game is indeed coming, and of course it would be coming to the Nintendo Switch because, well, there's not a 3DS anymore, but we actually have a price of this game being at $49.99 as opposed to the standards $59.99 that a lot of first-party Nintendo games come out as. Now, the most recent $49.99 game we had, of course, was Miitopia, which, on the surface, it definitely doesn't look like a big $60 AAA triple budget game and whatnot, and I feel like the WarioWare series falls in line with that. But you know what? As much as I've enjoyed the WarioWare games, and I have enjoyed the WarioWare games in their handheld form, I feel like it just doesn't translate as well to a console game, just because of the fact that you could play these games in just little micro bursts and get sort of an experience from it. And yeah, the mini games themselves are fun, but there's so many things out there right now that sort of replicate that, especially with like Game Garage Builder coming out on the Nintendo Switch, that, let's be realistic, a lot of these experiences that you're going to get on this game are going to be these sort of mini games that we would see on a WarioWare game. I would like to see a Wario Land game. I don't understand why Nintendo has completely abandoned the Wario Land stuff, because when you look at the Wario Land games, some of these games are like the best games on their respective platform. Like the Wario Land game on the Virtual Boy is the best game on the Virtual oh boy, it looks great, it plays great, there's interesting mechanics. They always try to do something different in Wario platformers, more so than in just WarioWare, where it's just a bunch of random mini games like pick your nose and pick your feet and, you know, stop this car from stuff. I'm not saying that the WarioWare games are bad, but I definitely feel like they've run their course. And just to have a WarioWare game come out on the Nintendo Switch, honestly, to me, just feels a bit like filler. Now, maybe there are some diehard WarioWare fans who are like, yes, we're getting a new WarioWare game. This is the greatest day ever. But I would like to see Wario expand. I think he's a very interesting character. Ever since we were first introduced to him during Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins on the Game Boy, like, he's always been a cool character. He's always been an interesting character that I feel like you can sort of expand upon and do interesting styles of games that maybe you couldn't do with a Mario style game, because he's evil. You know, you could do stuff with Waluigi in the game as well. So I don't know. If indeed a WarioWare game is coming to the Nintendo Switch, like, I guess that's cool, but I would definitely like to see a Wario Land game instead of a WarioWare game, because Wario Land is definitely a franchise that Nintendo has forgotten about. Now, of course, this could lead to a Wario Land game if WarioWare sells very well, and I'm just tired of saying Wario right now. Holy shit, it's tongue-tying me right now. But I just feel like a Wario Land game has a lot more potential and a lot more possibilities. But maybe you're excited for this, and it seems like a WarioWare game is indeed coming to the Nintendo Switch, and I guess it's only $49.99, so it could be worse. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a liar is Jim Ryan? I'm saying an 11. And of course, the PlayStation 5 game situation. Do expect there to be a game to sort of fill in the gap if indeed Horizon Forbidden West does get delayed until 2022. And WarioWare, do you want to see it come back, or would you rather see Wario in a more proper style game? And as always, folks, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel as well. The Knicks got eliminated last night. You know what? It was a great season, though. We weren't even supposed to be in 4th place. We definitely overachieved, and now we have something we can build upon. So I'm not too upset about it. You know, it is what it is. Hats off to Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks. You're going to get destroyed by the Sixers anyways, so it really doesn't matter. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.